So let us know when.
Hey guys, blessing. Hey guys, blessing here, and how are you all doing? I'm so sorry I'm late as usual. But today we're gonna do something a bit different than you guys are accustomed to hear on this program. We are gonna have a political discussion today, and I have two guests here in the studio with me. We want to talk about the American political state at this point in time, what is going on, what has happened so far, the future of American democracy, what we think about Kamala Harris, what we think about the Republican Party, what we think about Project 2025, which is what we are going to start with in today's discussion. So I'm going to let my guests introduce themselves. Neki, are you going to join the conversation or you're just going to listen?
I'll chip in because I have a little experience and I've seen a little bit of stuff. My
Mm-hmm.
husband knows much more because obviously he was born and raised here. So he's
Mm-hmm.
seen the decline, how America used to be and how it's declined till today. He knows more, but I'll chip in a little bit here and there too.
All right, so I will let you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Okay, I'm Neki. You already
Mm-hmm.
know me from Facebook. My husband isn't on any social media outlet. So he is
My name is Andrew,
okay.
and
Hi,
so
Andrew.
hello. Me and Nick are married. We've been married for about 7 years. That she came to the United States, so I've been here my whole life, obviously by my accent.
You were born there. You are American
Yeah,
by birth.
I'm American. Yep.
Okay, so are you Republican or Democrat? Let's start with that to get that out of the way.
I would say I'm a conservative or Republican.
Okay. Now,
Mhm.
like I briefed you guys prior to this live session, I told you guys we would start with Project 2025. And of course, a lot of people believe that Trump is behind it. I do not believe so. I want to go through some of the points or some of the points on their program, on their agenda, which is very similar to what the Republicans have on their agenda. Tell me what you think about the points they have or their proposals that they want to put forward if Trump becomes president.
Well, I think that the Agenda 2025 is kind of a roadmap that the conservative group, the Heritage Foundation, has put together. Is kind of a roadmap to bring America back to what we used to be about, which is, God, family, country, conservative values, um,
Morals.
morals, and not all of the identity politics and um, the agendas that are on the left.
Mm-hmm.
And so, one thing to keep in mind is the liberal side of America has many, many, many PACs, political action committees, and they're financed through campaign funds, through
Mm-hmm.
private donations, um, and they are, each one deals with different agendas that the left is trying to
Push on to
push,
people.
into the legislation. Whereas the conservatives don't have as many of these type of committees, and so currently with what's going on, if you look, for example, 2 weeks ago, Kamala Harris's standings in the United States for polling was horrible. But the media has jumped onto this bandwagon since Biden stepped down from running,
Mm-hmm.
and she now the media is portraying her as this great person with a great history, and they're ignoring all the facts about her views on things over the last 15 or 20 years and things she did in her career as a prosecutor. And so they're very good at just getting the media to cover up and pretend that things are not what they really are.
And
And
things like
so,
what? What would you
mhm,
like the media to focus more on than what they are already focusing on?
well, the truth
Mhm.
to start. um,
Can you give me
you,
examples?
well, well, if you look at Kamala Harris's voting record when she was in the Senate, she was considered one of the most liberal, extreme left viewpoints on issues that they were dealing with within the Senate and the House. And the media is not going to talk about that because they know that the average American person is not that far to the left. They believe in God. They want to raise their family right. They want people to be independent and take care of themselves and not be dependent on the government programs that have lured in so many voters on the left. But if they, there's I don't remember the saying, but if you say there's a saying about if you say something enough times to people, they'll believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they do is, as a whole, the media tends to be on the same page. I tend to believe in certain situations over the years, they've been issued, by the administration, what the agenda is, what the message to the American people are. And so they're all on the same page. There's things that have happened in the last 15 years where all of the media had incorrect facts on a certain situation. And
Mm-hmm.
6 hours later, they all switched to the truth because they were issued the statements to make and it was the wrong information. And then once it was corrected, they all corrected it the same way at the
Right.
same time. So
We
there's a
will
lot of that
get,
going on
yes,
behind the
I
scenes.
totally understand where you're heading to with Trump and maybe with Harris and maybe the inconsistencies and the bias with the media. We will get there in a jiffy. Let us still go back to Project 2025. You
Yeah.
have mentioned going back to family values, to morals. What would you say is one thing on that agenda that doesn't align with your own beliefs or principles as a
Well,
leader?
I haven't, thoroughly read through it. It's kind of something new in the discussion in America those last few weeks. Um, so I don't know that there's anything specific that I can say that I disagree with. I just tend to kind of put my faith into the Heritage Foundation and what they're
Right.
about,
Um,
so I can't say I'm too, educated on it
Yes.
specifically.
So, like I said earlier on, there are so many Republicans who kind of like align and relate with some of the points or most of the points on the 2025 Project 2025 agenda. And I find it quite unfortunate that many Republicans who support that agenda haven't even read through to really understand in details what it entails and maybe even the repercussions for them individually. But I can give you a summary now, and then maybe you'd have more insight
Yeah.
and tell me what
Yeah.
you think about the summary. I'm just going to read them out from my notes. Number one, they want the entire executive branch to be under the direct control of the president. I think that is tricky for one man to have absolute power. Another point is they want to reclassify tens of thousands of federal civil service workers as political appointees. So you're not just going to be, for example, a teacher, but you're going to be a government worker. You're going to be a politician first and then a teacher. For example, they want to infuse the government and conservative Christian values, just like you said. For example, abolish abortion and prosecute those who send and receive contraceptives. Another thing they have on their agenda is to take partisan control of the Department of Justice, of the FBI, of the Department of Commerce, and to dismantle Homeland Security, which I honestly don't understand why. Another thing they want to do is to cut funding for Medicare. And they want to urge the government to reject abortion, like I said before, as health care. So you can say, oh, well, I want to choose to get rid of the pregnancy for the sake of my health, for example, or rather to include it into insurance policies. They want to eradicate or eliminate coverage of emergency contraception under the Affordable Care Act. They also want to criminalize pornography. They want to remove legal protections against discrimination based on sexual orientation. So if you want to hide under the umbrella of, oh, I can choose to love who I want to love, I can choose to identify as this gender or that gender, you no longer have that protection when that agenda, comes into force. One of the other ones is they want to detain or they want to be able to detain and deport illegal immigrants living in the US. So if you have heard everything that I've listed so far, what would you say? Are you still of the opinion that this is great, or you're thinking, some of these things are quite ludicrous?
Some of them are extreme, and I wouldn't agree with some of that.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess, I went online the other day to kind of to read up on it. And I didn't go right to the Heritage Foundation at first. What I kept finding was the arguments against Agenda 2025. And
Okay.
then when I went to the Heritage Foundation, I read through some of it, but there's a lot to it. But I think too that, they're not, according to the Heritage Foundation, they're not saying that if a Republican becomes president in 2025, that they should lock on to every one of those ideas and run with it. It's about picking the ones that they feel are most important. Some of the extreme, on both sides politically, you've got extremists that are a little bit far out there. In the middle is where you'll find the bulk of Americans. But some of the things that you've read off are a bit extreme, I think.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now we are going to move on to, let's start with Trump before we go to Kamala. Trump is running. He could become president of the United States. Why would you choose Trump over Kamala Harris, for example? We're going to get to Kamala very soon.
Well, I think Trump had 4 years in office and proved that he can financially put the country in a better place. He held other countries accountable for paying their NATO dues, putting tariffs on Chinese, exports, because, no other president was bold enough to stand up against some of these countries. And perhaps they were being paid under the table to go with what they wanted. You can't buy Donald Trump. He's worth billions of dollars, and he's, if you look at him at his age and the amount of money and the lifestyle that he has, and the fact that he's the only U.S. president that ever lost money being president, whereas every other one has made money, and yet he wants to do it again. I believe it's because he cares enough about the United States and wants it to succeed. He could be off on one of his many places in the world, enjoying the beach and the ocean with his family and playing golf. But he chooses not to do that. He's not doing it for any financial gain.
Don't you
And so
think he loves power more than loving the country? Don't you think maybe it could be more about the power for him?
I think there's a little bit of narcissism to Donald Trump. I think he really likes himself. No human being is perfect. But I would rather if you had a guard dog at the front of your property, would you want a pit bull or would you want a Pomeranian? Joe Biden was a Pomeranian, whereas you want somebody who's strong and tough and bold and can take the punches, so to speak. And Donald Trump can do that, and it's because of his ego, and that's not necessarily the best thing in the world, but for a president, I think it's a very good characteristic.
Right. And if you look at the performance of Joe Biden in the last 4 years, what would you say was his lowest point, and why would you still choose Trump over him?
Well, the lowest point was probably the withdrawal in Afghanistan that was not at all coordinated, and that was a very, very dark day in America. And a lot of his other policies, there was, I forget the name of the policy 2 years ago where they had like a $1.7 trillion that they allocated for their whatever. I don't remember the name of it. And the conservatives for 3 months before it got passed kept saying this is a lie. This isn't what it's about. It was the Inflation Reduction Act. And actually, the day after it passed, many high-ranking Democrats came onto the news circuit and said, "Well, actually, it was probably named incorrectly because it wasn't going to reduce inflation, but it was about getting green money." And Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they both admitted, on the Sunday newscasts that they do in America every Sunday, the political newscasts, that it wasn't named properly, but only after they got it passed. And that now, about 18 to 20 months later, is what's creating a lot of the inflation and the rise of cost of utilities and food and
Gas.
gas. It takes a year or two after a law is implemented for it to affect the economy, whether it be positively or negatively. Um, it took a year before Trump's policies started really making a difference in America after 8 years of Obama, who couldn't get us off the ground again after the financial crash in 2008. Trump, it took about a year. I think the last couple of years we've been riding on Trump's achievements and successes, but now this last year or 6 months, things have gotten very expensive in America, and it's because Biden's policies are starting to affect. So, and they lied about it, and the conservatives kept saying this is not true. It's not going to reduce inflation. It's going to increase it. And so those are two really bad things that happened in the last 3.5 years under Biden, if you ask me.
And why do you even think Biden stepped down outside of the pressure that he received from people of his party and the sponsors or donors? Why do you think, as a man, as a president that has ruled for 4 years, that he stepped down in this time of his political
career? And one thing, I'm old enough to remember in 1988 when Joe Biden started running to be president, and he was caught plagiarizing many people, and he had to step down. He would walk into rooms full of reporters and start insulting them and telling them that he was smarter than them and that he would take an IQ test against him. These videos are all online on YouTube. So the man has aspired his entire life to be the president. The only reason he stepped down is because the guys behind the scene, Barack Obama, Pelosi, Schumer, these people that have propped him up the last 3.5 years to the American people as somebody legitimate, realized that after that debate that the entire country knew that he wasn't up to the job. So he didn't step down by choice. He was forced to step down. I think that he was given two choices. Either you go down with the country and you lose the election and we are not in control anymore and your name is mud, or you step down and we'll get the whole media to glorify you and say what a great man you were, and you'll be a hero in American history. And he took that option. So I think that's why he stepped down. I think too that if you think about it, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't, there's never been a political debate as early as June prior to a November election in America. I believe that the Democrats wanted an early debate, so they had this 100 or 120 days time because they knew what the result was going to be. And this way, it bought them time to install Kamala Harris and to prop her up. And I think that they allowed it to happen. I think that, we have this, if you've ever seen the movie The Wizard of Oz, there's the man behind the curtain pulling the strings. I think that the Democratic Party has a group of people, think tanks, that sit and determine how things are going to go and what we need to do and what strategies we need to put into place.
I think that happens in almost all political parties. You always have
I think so. I
behind
think so, but I tend to think there's just a very evil agenda on the left in this country that is, that controls it. I don't want to go too far off base what we're talking about, so I'll try to stay on target. But so anyway, I think it's good that he's stepping down. I think it's the Democrats' attempt to salvage and win in the election with somebody new because Joe Biden wasn't up to the job.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let us now talk a bit about Kamala. But before we go there, I'd like to read one or two comments. Let us get a feel of what people are, saying in the comment section. Can you guys see the comments, Neki?
I can. Let me just say one thing. There's this what is his name? His name is something, I don't know where he's from, but something Mbaye. Mbaye. He just doesn't even know the person speaking. But right away, why do you have a racist talking?
Oh,
Blah, 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 blah. You know, this is the problem around here. I'm
yeah.
an African, born and raised, and there are a lot of things I agree with the Conservative Party because they are kind of like how I was raised. I wasn't raised to condone abortions. I wasn't raised to condone being lazy, not
Mm,
working. No, you have to work to make a living. You don't keep your hands out for people to give you. You have to
right.
work
Yeah.
once you're not bedridden. This guy doesn't know me, doesn't know my husband, but just because he's white, kaboom, he's a racist. Why do
Mm,
you have a racist on? Blah, blah. You know, this is the problem. You don't know this man. How do you just
mm.
decide that he's
I
a
can't even
racist?
find the comments. I'm trying to go
It
through
was on YouTube.
YouTube.
Mbaye, I'm looking at it.
It's okay. It's okay. You know, everyone's going to have their opinion about things,
It's
and
crazy.
I'm not offended by it.
It is just
And I'm not a
crazy.
racist person.
It's
Actually, I have a
crazy.
lot of African American friends,
It's
and
Mm,
crazy.
I'm not a racist person.
It's
But
just
that's part of the messaging that's put out by the left, that everyone on the right is
yes.
a racist, and that's just not true.
Okay, this
So
is the comment. Why is this racist the one
oh,
with
I see it. Yes.
a platform speaking? How do you come to that? Where did you get
Okay.
that he's a
Zainab
racist?
it's
Mbaye
okay.
says, why? Okay.
Mhm.
We are not going to give that too much wings to fly. I just feel like this is
Yeah.
very ignorant. You don't judge people by their accent.
Okay.
You when you don't know someone, you don't label
Mhm.
them based on how
Okay.
they sound. That's what I'm just gonna say. So I'm gonna remove these comments because it is
Somebody else is saying
disrespectful.
It's okay,
he
Becca.
sounds like one of Trump MAGA party affiliates. Oh my God.
Let me see.
But when you look at it, these are the people that say, "Oh, we're being, we're the little people. The whites are racist to us." But look what you're saying. Look at the comments you're making. You're just as bad as the people you call racists. You're racist too.
Hypocrisy is everywhere. It's okay.
Hypocrisy.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. This is what you condemn, but you do it. It's not right. Two wrongs don't make a right.
Okay, I'm going to read Patrice's comment. Patrice says the Heritage Foundation is a very right wing organization, and the fact that he doesn't agree with anything on it presents a problem. Who doesn't agree with anything on it? Patrice, could you clarify before we forge ahead? Okay, someone says, I support Trump. I don't want 4 more years of this administration. What do you expect? Sorry, I almost lost my notes. What do you expect to see from Trump in the coming 4 years? I'm asking, sorry, I forgot your name again. Neki's husband.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
forgot your name, yeah. What do you expect from Trump in the coming four
Oh.
years that he did not deliver in his previous four?
Well, I think that Trump actually delivered on a lot of what he said he would,
Mhm,
which throughout those 4 years was always brought up in the news that he actually was.
mhm,
Um, I don't know exactly what. I think that going in, I think the bulk of his time is going to have to be to repair the damage that has been done financially to the country. He needs to bring jobs back. He needs to put tariffs on other countries so that there's a fair balance in the trade in with America. Um, I would like to see him do what Ronald Reagan did for America, is bring back patriotism, love of the country and of the
mhm.
foundation and principles of the country. Um, there's always going to be, every 4 years or 8 years, we're going to flip back and forth in America. So, it's going to go back and forth for eternity. And I think it's about keeping what I think unfortunately ultimately will destroy the country to slow that process. Because in my many years of living, I've watched the left continue to lie and destroy the financials of the country and create inflation. Conservatives tend to come in and fix those financial problems. The left is more involved with social issues, which I don't really tend to believe personally that the government should be involved in such social issues, whereas maybe
Yeah.
their role is more to build and create infrastructure, create an economy that is conducive to success. It's up to the human beings of America and of the world to be fair and treat each other with respect and give opportunity to everybody. That's where, I'm not racist. I don't believe Trump is racist. More African Americans worked and were employed under Donald Trump than any other president in the history of this country. And with every minority group, they had more jobs than ever. So, you know, it's two different philosophies of life.
Mhm.
One is everyone's a victim, everyone's a minority, everyone needs the government to take care of them, and that's how they buy votes. The
Mm.
conservative side is create opportunities, create a good economy, and live and let freedom ring. And really, it boils down to that. Everything else is just the nitty gritty of the details, but that's kind of the big picture how I see the left and the right. So for Trump, I just want him to continue to, well, he's going to have to do, damage control to the financial situation that the country is in.
Yeah.
And so that's probably his priority that I would expect him to deal with.
I'm gonna say from a personal point of view that I personally do not think that Trump is racist either. I think he's just maybe strong fisted, he's pragmatic, and he just goes for it. But I just see him as maybe someone who might also be a bit corrupt. When I say a bit corrupt, I'm not saying bringing corruption into the government, but maybe he's a businessman to start with.
Yeah.
Someone who would do whatever it takes to get something done, even if it has to be about cutting corners, he would do it. That's my perception of him.
Right.
And as a president, like I said, I do not think that he's a racist. I just don't see him like that. And a
Right.
lot of people are maybe not used to that directness, just
Hmm.
saying it the way
Yeah.
it is. They want to be pacified, they want to be caressed, and life is not always, like that.
I think too, though, that with Trump, part of his game, if you will, or his show that he puts on with his big words and talking tough, the people that believe in him and that are conservatives, a lot of us kind of get a kick out of his rhetoric because it's so true, and he just comes out there and puts it out there in people's faces, and
Mm-hmm.
the people on the left just get absolutely butthurt,
Yes.
can't handle it, and so there's a little bit of humor, and he's kind of that's kind of a way of him pandering to his base, and I understand and accept that, but I'm strong enough and have enough self-esteem to understand that if he said something critical of the way I think, I'm not going to be hurt about it. I'm just going to say, okay, he's playing his game. But at the end of the day, what did he do while he was in office? He did a lot of good things. So talk is cheap. It takes money to buy
Right.
Okay.
whiskey. So
Okay, let me just chime in, Blessing,
Go ahead.
about about people being soft. You have to be in this country to learn a lot of things. A week after I got into the US, a week after, we go
Mm-hmm.
to this we go to this big store, grocery store. It's called Walmart. We don't have that in
Mm-hmm.
Africa. We're going walking down the aisles to buy stuff, looking around, and then I see this girl. She's about 11, 12-year old
Mm-hmm.
girl with her mom on the aisle in the grocery store. She says, I don't know what transpired. I don't know what happened, but the part I heard was her saying the F word to her mother. And
Oh,
I was going to launch at her to slap the living daylight off her face. My husband drew me back and said, "You'll be in jail. You're no longer in Africa. This is not your business. Don't get involved. People are soft here. Let her be. If she slapped her mother, beats her mother, that's not on you to correct. Let
Mm-hmm.
her be." So I had to learn that this is how it is. Children, a lot of children are wild. Parents have done a terrible job. Parents here, a lot of them are friends with their kids. You don't do that. I was raised in Africa. My parents were never my friends, but they loved me, and I understand. Today, because I'm older, I appreciate all they did because it turned me into a better person. But a lot of people here, 12, 13-year-olds have iPhone 14 Pro Max. That's a $2,000 phone. What does a 12-year-old need that for? But to be friendly with your child, you have to buy it. And they have this thing. This person has that. I should also have it. Where I come, you're a Nigerian. You don't do that. Will you tell your parents, "Oh, Chioma has this. I
Mm-hmm.
must have it"? Your parents will straight away tell you, if Chioma jumps off the cliff, are you going to jump off the cliff too? That's just what I wanted to just, add because of the number of people who are so butthurt. This
Mm.
is what I've understood in this country. I was soft. I have a brother in Europe.
Globally
He is,
are
I have
oh,
a brother in Europe, and he knows a lot more about everything going on in the world. Even during the 2016 elections, he was in Nigeria and he was watching it. CNN kept saying, "Oh, Clinton will be the next woman president. Oh, Clinton is winning. Clinton is winning." Until my brother went to Twitter. That's where people were like, "No, she's not winning." You
mm-hmm.
see, the media has so brainwashed a lot of people. All they have to say is, "Oh, this person is racist." Boom,
Yeah,
everybody's running with it.
it's psychology. It's
It's
yeah. It
psychology.
happens
And
in
yet,
business, advertisement. It's
it's
just
crazy.
all mind games. Um, Before we move on to Kamala Harris, by the way, because of time,
Yeah,
I want to maybe read one or two things about her. But
sure.
before then, I want to talk about what happened to Trump recently in Pennsylvania, where he got attacked. I would like, can you just remind me of your husband's name so that I can address?
Andrew, Andrew,
Sorry,
Andrew,
Andrew.
Andrew. Yes.
Um, can you give us like a summary of what happened? What do you think about it? Who you think is behind it? We know that for now the guy acted alone, but give us your theory about the events of that day.
That's a tough one. He was giving a campaign rally speech, and um, this young 20-year-old man, opened fire on him, um, killed an innocent person. Two other people were injured. Trump got shot. It whizzed by his ear and damaged his ear, and he bled, but thank God he survived.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's difficult to say. The Secret Service didn't seem to be doing their job the way that they normally do. Um, Joe Biden had said a week or two before that something about having a bullseye on Trump, which is another term for a target. And I believe that if you ask me, that the left has convinced their followers that Trump is a uh, threat to democracy, that he is, like Hitler. He's going to come in and become a dictator because
Mm-hmm.
he said on day one he was. And he was joking. What he was saying is through executive action or orders, he's going to change some things. And for one day, he'll be a dictator. And that was a joke. And they've run with it throughout all the mainstream media.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they've, over the last 5 or 6 years, you've had Maxine Waters saying, who's a senator in California, an African American woman. She's like, you got to get in those conservatives' faces and give them a hard time and mess with them. And you have a lot of people on the left that are saying, is talking about being violent toward Trump followers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, again, you say it enough times and you're going to get some lunatic who's going to follow through with it. And
But
so I
if
think
you
that,
want to talk about if you want to talk about statements that people have made, politicians have made, I think Trump would be number one when it comes to maybe incitement, and that is one of the things he has been constantly accused of. Look at what happened at the Capitol when he made a speech, and the next thing, the mob, went after the people there, the Speaker of the House, and everything that we experienced. And like you said, he made a joke, maybe just sarcasm, but as a politician with all these years of experience, a businessman, you should know what to say, how to say it, and what not to say, because of course the media will capitalize on it. You will be misquoted, misinterpreted, misunderstood. So I'm not going to blame the media entirely. He has his duty and his responsibility to watch the jokes, or how he uses the art of, or the craft of sarcasm. um yeah, so that's what I'm just gonna say about that. So now you're maybe telling us that, okay, Joe Biden also made statements that could have incited people or someone to have attacked Trump.
right. Right. Well, and just the whole messaging that he's a dictator, that he's evil, that he's going to destroy democracy. On the right and the left, you have extremists that probably aren't healthy in their mind. And so, yeah, Trump has said things that probably infuriated people on the far right, and then they're not healthy enough to make good decisions, so they do stupid things. Same on the left. And sadly, that's part of the game of politics, I think. But at the end of the day, he survived it, and I think it was kind of a wake up call to the Secret Service and to a lot of different things. It's happened many times in American history. We've had several presidents assassinated. So I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying it's not the first time, and it's probably not going to be the last time, because there are crazy people in the world.
Right.
But as time goes on, people are getting more and more crazy, as if you ask me. And again, I remember my grandparents saying, "Oh my gosh, this world is crazy," back in the 1970s. But they were born in 1903. So I think the reason God only lets us live 80, 90 years is because we wouldn't be able to handle the change every 100. If we lived to 150, we'd go crazy.
Right.
Because we're constantly evolving and changing as a society. So
I understand that. Okay, let us take this comment. This person says Harris is not black. She's Indian and her views are not to help USA. They pushed Biden out. That's not right. The only reason the Democrats won her is for the votes of blacks and women. She incarcerated, is that 1 point? No, 100,000, I believe. Those are five figures. Hispanics and blacks for cheap labor. She also prosecuted parents of blacks for not sending their kids to school. Trump dated a black woman. Her name is Carrie Young. I think you made mention of some of the ugly things that Kamala Harris did in her time as district attorney. Maybe can you shed some light on that?
Well, so first of all, I think she's actually Jamaican and Indian. So being Jamaican, that is of African heritage. So she's biracial, I guess you'd say. So Kamala Harris, let me think about what you were asking. So I lost my train of thought here. What was the question, kind of specifically?
You made reference to some of the things that she might not have done very cleanly or very how do you say that, very well during her time, like years ago, and now the media is only trying to highlight the positives rather than
Yeah,
maybe also show some of the things that
yeah,
were not so good.
yeah. And it seems the media will focus on that, oh, this is a fresh new candidate, somebody new and fresh, somebody younger. They're going to put their focus on that, so that nobody thinks about her past track record and the fact that she's had a lower polling numbers as far as Americans' satisfaction with her job they were always been lower than Joe Biden's the last 3.5 years. They're not going to focus on that. They're going to focus on the new, fresh, clean start, and then attack Trump and say, she's going to continue with Biden's agenda, which is so great compared to the conservative agenda, and they'll just keep running with that. If I just real briefly, I know a gentleman. He's an attorney. He's a Jewish man. He's about maybe 80 years old now. He was a client of mine for several years. I haven't seen him for a couple of years, but he was an attorney. He grew up in Oakland, California. His father was Jewish from New York. His mother was Southern Baptist, lived in Northern California. And they had a tryst for 6 months, and then the father went back to New York. So he never knew his Jewish father, but he was raised in California by his mother and grandmother. When he was teased a lot in school until he was about 9 years old for having Jewish blood in Oakland, California. Anyway, his grandmother put him in a Jewish school, and he came to understand his Jewish heritage and became Jewish, which I tend to believe the Jewish people push their kids to education and to being the best they can. There's a great, great part of the Jewish culture in the world. They exceed at what they do, excel. And so this gentleman became an attorney, worked in the state of California, and he was friends with Willie Brown, I think his name was. He was the prosecuting attorney that had in San Francisco back in the 1980s. And this gentleman was about 60 years old at the time, the Willie Brown, and he had a young girlfriend who was 21 years old, and her name was Kamala Harris. And he paid for her education, her college, got her a job in the prosecuting attorney's office in San Francisco.
Okay.
And this older Jewish man that I know, he had been out to lunch with the two of them on a few occasions back in the early 1990s. And he's told me, Andrew, the country doesn't know that this woman slept her way to the top. And when that's said, the left says, oh yeah, that's because racist conservatives think all black women have to sleep their way to the top in anything. I don't believe that. My wife didn't sleep her way to getting married to me in America and coming to a better life. I don't believe that every black woman does that, or every white woman, or that women do that. There are some that do, but there's some women that are good, and there's some that are bad. And so anyway, just my experience of knowing this guy for 10 years and the stories that he shared with me over the years, I very much believe him. I very much believe that. And this guy is actually kind of an independent. He's not necessarily conservative or Republican, but this is his opinion of her. So,
wow.
She's got a tattered past, and she laughs all the time. I think there's many times she's been on marijuana. When they did the State of the Union last time, you look at her eyes, she was high on marijuana, which fine, but you can't be the vice president.
But I'm gonna say, looking
These are
at
my
maybe
opinions.
her personal life, if it doesn't affect her professional life and her job, I don't think that should be a reason to think that she is not able to take on the office. Don't you think so?
You mean if she smokes marijuana, she should still be able to be the president, or if she slept away to the top, she should still be able to be the president? Is that what you're saying, or because that's her
Well,
personal life?
This is just hearsay now about
Yeah.
sleeping away to the top. So I'm
Yes,
not
it
going
is.
to stand firmly
Yeah.
on that because.
No, but I don't know. She just okay. I'm just not. I'm not convinced that she is
She deserves.
in politics because she cares about the country. My gut instinct is that, like many politicians, they're in there to enrich and enhance their own lives. And any politician that's in there for that, I'd rather have Trump, who's in there to prop up his ego, than somebody who's trying to financially gain from it. Because how many backroom deals are going on that are hurting the country. For example, yesterday I read a news article that our I think the Pentagon found a $2 billion discrepancy in the value of money that, the money that came into the Pentagon for supporting Ukraine, $2 billion became unaccounted for. And you wonder who is siphoning that money off possibly. And there's so many dirty backroom deals or insider trading. I believe Nancy Pelosi and her husband have profited for years off of the information she has having been in Congress. That's something that's talked about a lot. So anyone that's in politics to better their own self instead of the country, I don't think I could support them. Jimmy Carter, he was a Democrat. I supported him. He wasn't a great president, but he had his heart in the right place. He cared about the country. He wasn't there to enrich himself. So I'm not against that. John F. Kennedy was a great president. He was a Democrat. So I'm not against all Democratic people. It's about the person themselves and if they're there to prosper for themselves or profit for themselves, or if they care about the country. And I don't think she does. But again, that's one guy's opinion. So
Okay, something else I might chip in, Blessing, is like Kamala was supposed to go to the border. She was supposed to take care of that. She's never gone there, I don't think. And when they ask her questions on that topic, she laughs it off.
To go to
That's
the
not
border, you said.
to the border, to the what is it now? The Texas border, the southern border, like I think Texas, where the
New
migrants
York.
are flowing into
Mm-hmm.
from.
Mm-hmm.
And then because of how soft and relaxed they are with the migrants, they
Mm-hmm.
even gave them some hotel rooms in New York with some money in debit cards, put them up in good
Yeah.
hotels. That's
I'm
not
gonna
okay.
say, I'm gonna say that we should have very strong immigration policies, but the humanitarian aspect of it should also not be just left for what it is. If people are in need, people have maybe migrated illegally and they are there. Maybe you have kids, you have women, you have vulnerable people, sick people, maybe, and they have come into
Okay.
the country through the border. You would have to offer them a
Some
place to,
sort of,
yes,
okay,
yes.
okay.
So I'm not fully against it. I mean, there has to be, you have to have policies in place to capture loopholes. I'm not going against that, but when it comes to offering a credit card is going a bit far, but offering them shelter, I'm not going to say I'm totally against it. Offering them shelter for the night for 2 days before they can be sent back, for example.
No, they are living there permanently, good hotels that I can afford, and I work really hard. Well, I don't
well,
know.
there's talk that the left wants to give voting rights to these illegals, and they're taking better care of them than they are our veterans in the United States. We have many veterans that are alcoholics or drug addicts that are living on the streets, and it's oftentimes because of going to war. It can mess with a person psychologically and it breaks their spirit. And it seems like the government is doing less for them than these illegals, and so then that tells me that perhaps it's to buy future votes. We brought you in, we gave you asylum, we gave you citizenship, we gave you opportunity, and it's always about pandering. We live in Minnesota, my wife and I, and Minnesota is very, very well known for pandering and bringing in groups. The Somalian people, there's more Somalians that came to Minnesota than any other state in the country because of a senator we had in the 1990s named Paul Wellstone. And now there's 3 or 400,000 of them that live in Minneapolis. And so they have Ilhan Omar in office, and she is an extremist. But you can't get her out because they brought so many here, and they've changed the politics of this state by they brought in a lot of Black Americans from Chicago in the 70s and 80s because we paid twice as much in welfare benefits, and so many of them were on welfare. It brought them in, and now they'll vote for them. So this state is very, very blue.
Right,
Is
I
political.
understand that. And I don't
And it's
think it's just an American thing. Also, here in the Netherlands, you have tons of political refugees, economic refugees who came in from Somalia, Eritrea. Yes, we have them in abundance here. We have mosques here in the Netherlands, like churches.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not just a
An
problem.
American thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Right.
And yeah, I think immigration will always be there. I think it's just the responsibility of the government to, you know, try to make it tougher if necessary, if they see like, because like you said, a lot of these people come in and they come in with the intention not to better their lives. They come in with the intention to just have a better life based on the government giving to them, for them to
Yes.
just be taken care of, which I find a pity. I mean, you should be able to find that balance. If you have, for example, skilled workers or people that are willing to better their lives to help groom the economy, those are the people that you should put in front. But
Right.
hey, they open the doors. It has to do with maybe also international agreements. You cannot shut the door in the face of a refugee or of someone who comes into your country to seek asylum. So some of these things are really beyond the country
Right.
alone.
Right. Right. And yeah, there's chaos in a lot of parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I say to my wife on occasion, and kind of jokingly, but kind of serious too, is, you know, she's from Nigeria, and I know I have a pretty good understanding of how difficult life is there and how corrupt the political system is. And I said, you guys need to have heroes like we once had heroes in America.
Mhm.
We fought off the British for our independence and our freedom. But
Hmm.
nobody wants to be the sacrificial lamb and fight off that tyranny in government. And so I kind of joke, but it's also serious, because the way that great countries become great countries is through sacrifice,
Mhm.
and by standing up to what's wrong and conquering it. And the whole world could learn from those, you know, from our history and the history of countries that have succeeded and done well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, England at one time, they, you know, the sun never sets on the British Empire. They controlled everybody, even Nigeria,
Mhm.
and
Slava
and
might.
and that wasn't right of them to do that. And you know,
Yeah.
they should, each country should be a sovereign nation that rules and governs itself, and pushes for economic prosperity for the people and
Mm-hmm.
make things fair. But you know, that's in a perfect world that we don't live in. So
Mm. Right.
mm,
Okay. I think we are gonna end with Kamala. I can just go ahead and read her resume. She has a beautiful one, but I'm not gonna do that because because of time. But I want to ask the question of, we have a good resume CV against experience. Trump has been president. Kamala has never been.
yeah.
What would you choose? An experienced former president, or someone that looks good on paper and, you know, potentially able to do the job?
Well, that's an easy question. The person with the experience, you know, that has proven themselves, you know, worthy and capable of doing the job. Um, that's kind of a no-brainer. So I would say Donald Trump over her lack of experience. And from my understanding of her voting in the Senate and stuff, she's very extreme. One short, quick example is the way that she was putting together these organizations to bail people out of jail during the riots of 2020 after George Floyd was, you know, died in
Mm-hmm.
Minneapolis. She
Mm-hmm.
was paying for bail, and there are people in my state that were bailed out because of her, that went on to murder people,
Mm.
rape women, and
Mm.
all sorts of other crimes.
Hmm.
And the media doesn't talk about that.
No.
But I know that it happened. It was in the news that it happened, but they never bring it up again in the liberal left media. So
No.
she's, you know, they want chaos, because when you have, you know, if you have a group of mice and you have them running in circles and running crazy, you can control them.
Mm-hmm.
But when you let them think for themselves and hear what the truth is, they're not going to support you. And so that's what they're doing, is creating havoc and chaos in our society. Things
Mm-hmm.
move so fast that the average person can't, you know, they're going to work, making meals for their children, buying them
Paying
clothes,
bills.
sending them to school, paying all their bills. They don't have time to keep track. And so they've made the country just kind of a rat race, just craziness. And, you know, so many things have happened in the past. Hillary's 33,000 emails. that has been long gone in the news because they keep creating more and more problems that you can't even deal with the past ones.
Hmm.
So that's to me how the left works is they've got chaos going on and then they can just spin it whatever way they want. And I can't agree with that.
Okay. So you're convinced that it's going to be Trump.
I don't know that he'll win, but I'm going to vote for him. I hope that he wins. I have a pretty good feeling that he will, but I'm not 100%. I think
Mm.
it's never good to be too confident because you've got to, you got to live in reality. But I hope that he does. And if he doesn't, I don't know. I'm wondering why all the liberals that said they were going to move out of America when he was elected, why didn't they ever leave?
Hmm. Hmm.
Just a
Yeah.
thought. Just a thought.
They should move to Nigeria or
You
pay
know,
their private jet ticket
you know,
one way.
You
I'll
know the
pay.
things you say in the spur of the moment. You understand.
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
I'm kind of well versed on a lot of this stuff.
Hmm. They
Mm.
should
Yeah,
move.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
get it.
yeah,
So
so that's what I meant.
this person says there should be two sides talking because listening to Republican talking dishonestly isn't good. Well, I made the call publicly. I invited you guys to sign up for
Mhm.
this
Mhm.
discussion, and unfortunately, you guys did not come. That's the thing. When it comes to voting, please go out and vote. Don't wait for other people to cast their votes and the result doesn't favor you, then you want to complain. When
See?
you have that power, that opportunity to be part of it, join the conversation. Your voice matters. Don't wait till we have only one liberal, you said, here in our midst before you say that you. I understand your point. I would have loved to have a Democrat, on the other side of the fence, but unfortunately, we work with what we have. I cannot read all of the comments. We're already almost an hour into the program. Do you have final words for us, Andrew, before we end the show?
Well, I appreciate you having me on here to talk. I hope that I was fair in my assessment of
You
things, and
were.
showing that I'm not a hater on anybody. It's okay to be different and to think different. That's the beauty of a free country.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm,
but I hope that your message gets through to people, and even if they vote for Kamala Harris, that's okay. I want people to be as educated and informed as they can
mm.
be, and then go out and make their choice. And that's what a democracy is that freedom of choice. Um, and I just pray for Donald Trump and the conservatives to win. And if he doesn't, I just pray for the country. And
Hmm.
that's where I stand.
Period. Period.
Yeah. So I guess that's about all I could say about the final comment. Just hope that people make informed decisions and learn as much as they can and don't believe everything they hear in the media.
Please, Blessing, next time, I think you should bring on Patricia Ramsey. She's just going bonkers in the comment section. She should come up and talk. Why didn't she? Yeah, she's seriously just ranting. Seriously. Patricia Ramsey, maybe you should come up next time and bring your own points as well, instead of being in the comment ranting.
Oh, I didn't even realize my mic was off. I was asking. So I was
Oh,
saying, yes, that I would love to do another discussion like this and maybe have more people join in. Would Andrew still like to come back? Maybe after the preliminaries, maybe after the election. Would you like to?
Yeah, I would be willing to come back on. Yes.
Okay, that would be great. My mic mic was
mm,
off, camera,
yeah.
but yes. So I really do appreciate your presence here, Neki. Thank you so much for letting this happen,
No wahala.
and for all the commenters. I'm so sorry I cannot read all of the comments. Or should we take one or two before we go?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see some comments. Which ones should we? Can you read out some?
Okay, let me go to this Patricia.
Mm-hmm.
She is really upset. She's saying he wasn't fair. He wasn't fair at all. How crazy is this? Um, yes, we are okay. No, yeah, Patricia, I saw like from all her comments, some of it is, disappeared, but
Mm.
There are two Patricias. Patricia Ramsey is the one going nuts in the comment section. She is just so upset. But my problem is, you threw this out there weeks ago. Why didn't she take it up and come give her own opinions? Don't be in the comment ranting, raving, and screaming. You should have been on the live giving your own opinions.
Well,
You
actually, she
see?
can still join. Patricia, if you're here, there is a
Pat-
link somewhere in
Patricia
the
Ramsey.
caption. Yes, you can join the conversation. Maybe we can leave the line open for 15 minutes. You can
Okay.
call in. Yes, it's
And
possible.
then bring her rebuttal. She can, bring her own opinions as well
Yes,
to say,
that's
okay,
allowed.
this is true. That's
Yeah,
allowed. That
yes.
is allowed. We can
So if
agree to disagree. There is no
absolutely.
need being so stuck on yourself. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to hate people you don't know. That's
So
very
yeah.
heavy.
So, Patricia, if you're still here, we can leave the line open for the next 15 minutes, or for whoever wants to call in. You can join the conversation live. You can join us in the studio. You don't have to show your face if you don't want to. Just turn off the camera and leave the mic on. And just tell us what you think, what you disagree with. It's always okay. I mean, we don't all have to be on the same page, we don't all have to
Exactly.
be members of the same political party. That's just
No.
life. And I personally think Andrew has been really fair. He hasn't been extreme in his views, and we have really kept the conversation very open and light. So yeah, but maybe that's Patricia's opinion, and that's fine to have your own opinion. But if you have a different opinion, please feel free to use the link. We would love to have you here. Let me see. Yeah, we'd love to have you here. Just join in the conversation. Which other comments should we look at? Okay, someone is asking. I would like to ask, why does Trump dislike Spanish people and people of color, immigrants, but his wife is an immigrant and he doesn't dislike this kind of immigrants? Okay.
Is that a question to me?
Yeah,
Somebody
Or
to
asked.
you, Andrew.
well, so
Someone
so
asked in the comment section,
yeah,
so.
Trump doesn't dislike Hispanics. If it's Hispanic people that are coming over the border, he doesn't like illegal immigration. That doesn't
Mm,
mean that he doesn't like Hispanic people. You know, the way that the half of this country, and I'm not going to label them left or right, but it seems half of this country reads into things and comes out with these statements as though they're facts. Why doesn't he like
Mhm,
Hispanic people?
mhm,
He
mm,
doesn't dislike them. People need to start thinking deeper than what the little blurb they see on the CNN headlines
mhm,
says. Trump is racist.
yeah.
You know, um, when Trump said during the campaign a few years in 2020, they were discussing illegal immigration, and he
mm,
was saying that you're going to have criminals and rapists and murderers coming over. The media turned that into that he was saying that every person that came over the border was a criminal of some sort. And that's not what he was saying. He was
mm,
saying by having open borders, you're going to allow a percentage of people in
mm,
that aren't here for the best interests of America. And so to make these absolute statements, why doesn't Trump like Hispanic people? I think that's wrong, and it's not open-minded. It's very close-minded and very biased. Because I have good things I could say about Kamala Harris and about Joe Biden, and I have bad things to say about Donald Trump.
mm.
Nobody's perfect, and everyone has some good attributes, and most everyone has some not so good attributes. So I think whoever made that or asked that question can look in a mirror and say, why am I so biased? And why did I ask a question in an absolute when it's not that, they're saying, why does he hate Hispanics? He doesn't. He doesn't want bad people coming over the border of a country of Hispanic speaking people.
Mhm.
There's a difference. So That's my
Okay,
response to that.
clear. That is clear because, of course, like I said before, you always have people who are going to abuse your openness and your softness with your immigration policies. You have people, like I said, they will come with 5 children with them
Right.
and they will give birth to 4 more and they're going to be home and you are going to have to cater for all of them. That I find really something needs to be done about it.
Yeah.
Okay, someone says, and let's be real, Biden is simply too old and is suffering from dementia. He has suffered from cognitive issues since the 2020. Well, I'm just going to say that I'm glad that he stepped down when he did. I'm really glad. Okay, we have a call. Let's see. Hello.
Hey, Blessing, how are you doing
Hi,
today?
I'm fine.
Hi, I just wanted to add something. I definitely am not like deeply into politics. I'm not a politics person, and I'm not talking about one candidate or the other. However, I do consider myself a progressive. I do see that certain systems, social systems, i.e., the church, medical system, stuff like that, need some type of reformation. I do also agree that the consciousness of humans is really elevating on the planet right now. And when consciousness elevates, there's a natural state of evolution, which is why I think that I'm a progressive, right? So for me, the candidate, which I don't know which one that is, that I would choose is one that would support this natural progression or evolution. You know what I'm saying? Instead of choosing one that is so traditional, so stuck on the old systems that we and it's gonna evolve whether we hold it back or not. We can't change. The planet evolves on its own. If you watch even shows on YouTube about the evolution of the planet, it's a natural evolution taking place. We can't stop it. So for me personally, I would go with a individual who is also progressive.
Okay.
Some people like to hold on to traditional means, and that's fine with them. That's where they find their safety. But there's a set of people that are on the planet to help it evolve naturally, which means the systems will also evolve naturally. The leaders would also support systems that support this natural evolution of things. And that's just my opinion.
Right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Before you go, who are you voting for?
I don't, like I said, I don't normally vote, but if I do, I will not vote for the candidate that's sticking to old traditional values. Let's just leave it at that.
That's
so
clear enough.
I support people that are of different sexual preferences because to me that's a part of the evolution. It might not be the end game, but it is a part of the evolution. People that see autistic individuals as equals, these are the things that are important to me. Or not seeing others, not agreeing with others that demand traditional gender roles. You know what I'm saying? Of course, men are physically stronger than women, so there are some things that they're going to do better, and women are natural nurturers. So I'm not like all the way right or all the way left, but I do support a natural evolution.
I agree with you, but I'm gonna say that it's better to go for a candidate that can strike the perfect balance. I love to go with the traditional values, and I also want to progress. I also want to move with the evolution and the changes that come with time. For
So
example, this
it's
evening.
a grounded candidate, somebody that's grounded. They understand who they are, so they're not afraid of stretching out and allowing for evolution. So it's a groundedness plus that evolutionary aspect, you know. So that's where I'm at. I agree with you.
All right. Thank you so much again for calling in.
All right.
All right.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, one more comment. Someone says if you've watched any of United States has become all evil, demonic, and sex driven, not about rule and order. Okay, finally, Andrew, before you go, can you tell us what the future of American democracy looks like? Do you have hope in America as a country, as a nation, or you think the future is bleak?
Well, I have hope. I think that good and righteousness always prevails. And I'm not saying that everything conservative is the best.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that America historically has been able to find the middle ground that appeals to the masses, that's best for the country, that's best for the people. And so I have hope that we will continue. It's about the hills and the valleys in between. You know, there's the ups and downs in everyone's personal life, and in within a country and within politics, there's always ups and downs on the road of life. But America, you know, the heart of America and the passion of Americans is to always come out better for everybody. And it's how we get there that you know that makes every day different from the day before and the next day. But I think our goals are there. So I have hope for America. The future, I mean, the future is going to be, you know, when I think of my grandparents or great grandparents and their belief systems, they would have never accepted some of the things that I, as a self-proclaimed conservative, am okay with. You know, if two people of the same gender want to get married, I'm okay with that. My grandparents would have been like, oh my gosh, no way. So, and yet I'm conservative. That's not my business. That's their business, you know? So you got to be, you know, so I think that we will be okay because over time, whether people admit it or not, we do evolve as a society and we do accept things as norms. But extremes are difficult to digest for both sides, you know, and so, but I think the American spirit, we will be fine in the end.
Eventually.
Well,
okay.
you know, but also too, and so one last caveat, if I can add this, you know, I have a very strong belief in God, and I'm a Christian, and I believe that the end will come of mankind. I think we will self-destruct ourselves. And so that, you know, that's probably closer today than it was 100 years ago for the world. And I don't just mean America. You know, there's a lot more immoral people and people not raising their children well. And all of that cumulatively is going to take down the human race. And
you know
maybe
what
one day, you know,
talking
maybe
about
one day, go ahead.
What I think is, I don't think we have more of that now. I think it's just maybe because of the media or social media that we see more of those things now.
That's true. I would agree with that. Yep. But I think, you know, maybe, you know, I know that America, we get a whole different source of news than the rest of the world sees when America's covered over there. I know that. A lot of Americans aren't aware of that we get a very biased media. And, but, you know, a lot of Americans anyway, and not all, but a lot of them don't have a lot going on in life. They don't have great lives anymore the way maybe it once was. And so they'll plug into whatever gives them passion or good feelings. And sometimes it's really bad things that they plug into, and they go out and try to assassinate a president, or they, you know, whatever it be. And at some point you're going to have more than half of the population in the US kind of not in a good place in their mind. Whereas it used to be, I would say 60 years ago, maybe 10% of people were kind of messed up. Today, maybe it's more like 30% of people. And because if you weren't raised well, you're not going to raise your kids well, and it's a breakdown of society and a breakdown of values and morals and traditions. And so that's why I think that's what God talks about. The end of times will become Sodom and Gomorrah again, an immoral society that self-destroys itself. Maybe it'll be with nuclear weapons. Maybe it'll be with biological weapons. So
do you think the American dream is still a thing, or is a myth?
I think it's still there. That's tough. I think the American dream is still alive. I think currently, again, when I talked about those ups and downs in life, we're in a bad spot. A lot of younger people can't afford a home. When I was 20, it was difficult to afford a home, but a home was only $60,000 at that time. Today, your average home is $420,000. But I made $3 an hour back then when I was in my 20s. Today, kids are making $18 or $20 an hour. So it's all relevant, and it's also what your priorities are. And if you have to have the newest cell phone and get your hair and your nails done every week, and you need to eat out at expensive restaurants and buy expensive cars to impress your friends and family, well, then you're not going to get anywhere. But if you're conservative with your money and you're responsible with it, you can get ahead. Not going into my personal life, but I once had nothing, and I worked 72 hours a week for about 12 years of my life, 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, to get somewhere. And now, many years later, I'm even that much more comfortable. But I put in hard work for many years to get ahead because I didn't have anything when I was younger.
Yeah,
so,
and really that has little or nothing to do with the party someone is supporting. I think it's more an individual thing. Some people are just raised to be useless. Like, okay, I don't care. I'm just gonna drink. I don't need to work. I think it's like it's not. I don't know how to put that.
Well, but
I don't think it has to do with the, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, and I don't want to go into it too deeply, but our education system in the country is horrible. It doesn't teach kids reading, writing, and arithmetic. It teaches them social agendas, social issues. And so to me, and the left or the liberals in America, they absolutely control the education system in this country. And they have dumbed down the children in this country so bad. I know kids 19, 20 years old that cannot read a sentence or write a proper sentence.
Can't spell.
But they know that they were born a male and think that they're a female. And and so this is where government does affect our society and our lives and our families. And that I'm pretty passionate about, because I think I went to Catholic schools all my life that were they were progressive, but they were also conservative at the same time. So it was balanced.
Yeah.
But most kids go to public school and the teachers don't care about them, and a lot of times parents aren't involved, and so that's where it's kind of tough in America.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not as young as some. I'm not as old as some. I'm in my 50s, but I've seen a lot of change, and it's sometimes I'll tell a 20-year-old, you wait till you're my age and you see the kids that are being born now when they're 20 and the things they're doing, you're going to be like, what are you doing?
Right.
I'll go to a restaurant and see a boy and girl on a date, and they're texting each other instead of having a conversation. They're on their phone texting. And to me, at my age, it's like, what the heck are you doing?
You're not even going to be with your phone on the table.
Right.
Things have changed, and things will continue. Things will constantly change. It's just part of life.
We live in a technological world, so it's going to change.
Right. Okay. So right now I'm feeling like we are going to make a new appointment for another political discussion, because I have another comment here from Zainabu Mbaye that says, "Blessing, you're not being fair. Having just this Republican speak is bad. He will not have anything nice to say about Vice President Harris." So we are going to have another conversation, and hopefully you guys sign up. Democrats, progressives, you guys sign up and join the conversation. It will even be more interesting to have people from both sides, of course, but I cannot create people. I cannot, mold people and put them here. People
You can
have
lead
to
a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You know?
exactly.
Yeah.
So, Zainab, hopefully, maybe next time you join, I really would love to hear someone from the other side. Even if you don't want to join, you can maybe invite someone tell someone, a colleague, a neighbor who would like to, educate us on, the Democratic Party and the good things they are doing. Let them come. It's an open forum. Let them come. Okay, Zainab, please, and every other person here, if you want to hear from the other parties, maybe go ahead and just invite your people to join, or you join. Maybe we can do another program in a couple of weeks. What do you think, Andrew?
That would be fine with me.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you know we are gonna set up a new appointment, and hopefully I have more people join in. Yes. So I am going to really end the program now. It's been really interesting, very informative. At least maybe some people who are not into politics at all, they would have gotten one or two things that they're like, oh wow, so this is how it works. And for me, it's also new because I'm not American. I've never been to America. Can you beat? But I follow, the politics. I listen to things here and there. I get bits and pieces. I'm not really into it. It's always good to gain more knowledge and listen to people like you. So I would love to have you again on the show. Naki, thank you once again.
You're
um,
welcome.
yes, it's been really great. So I want to thank all of you for watching. Go ahead and share the video and invite other people to join the conversation next time we come. So enjoy your evening and
Thank
God
you.
bless America. Right.
Amen.
All right.
Amen.
Yes, thank you and have a good night. Thank you
You
so much.
too. Thank you.
Thank
Right.
you.
All right,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Okay.
Wow, it's been good, right? Thank you guys. So I will go now. Let me end the live stream. Let me see. I'm using two devices, so which one goes first? All right, this one. Bye guys. And follow the page, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Yes, bye guys. Bye.